If you've been watching the news lately, everything seems uncertain. But if you're here in Quinte West and Belleville, the real estate market actually might surprise you. Hi, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a local realtor that works here in the Belleville, Quinte West surrounding areas. If after this video you have more questions, you want to keep the conversation going because you're looking to sell or to buy and move to this area, reach out. My information down below in the description, my number, my email. I'd love to hear from you. Let's get to it. So, things are happening in the world. A lot of people are trying to figure out what's going on and how that's going to impact their daily lives. And real estate is here what we're going to talk about, specifically the stats and what is happening in this local market. You hear a lot about the Canadian real estate market. That's not really the thing. There are so many local markets throughout Canada, throughout Ontario that are acting completely different. So you can't really generalize as a whole. You have to look at the specific areas, and that's what we're going to do today. Now I'm going to look at 4 simple stats for this area that will give us a good idea of what is happening. And then at the end, the one thing that probably surprised me the most, and I think you'll find quite interesting, that final stat that we're going to be talking about. So the first thing we're going to look at here, number of sales. That one is the first thing that gives us a good idea of activity overall, whether things are starting to heat up, whether we have a spring market or not. And so if we look at this chart right here, we can see that we are heading up into that upward direction. So March 2026, we had 87 sales between Belleville and Quinte West. And as you can see, in January 2026, we hit the low for the year, which was the coldest part of the year, quite cold this year actually. And then we've started going upwards from there. Now, even though it's going up, if you compare all the way back to March of 2025, we had around 120 sales that month. So 120 versus 87 this year. We're down from last year, but we're up over the last number of months, heading in the right direction. So I'll let you read into that as you will, but that leads to the average sale price. Of all these homes that are selling, how much are they selling for? We have less sales overall, even though they're heading upwards. And we're seeing here that the average sale price for this past month came in at $538,000. So March, 538. Last month, we were at 583,000, which you'd see as a significant drop there. I will note, and I started noting this the last few months, average sale and median sale price can read very differently. And so last month I noted because it was 583,000 on average, but the median was 517,000. Huge gap. This month, $538,000 was the average sale price for a home. $520,000 was the median sale price. What this shows us is when you're reading the news and you get stats, what are they using? Because one of these stats will say that the house prices on average have fallen from 583 down to 538,000. That's a headline on the news. Or they use the median sale price and say it's between 517 and 520. Almost no change at all. Very drastically different outlooks on a local market. And so I like the median sale price because I think it actually works out better, and I will be switching to that. But the average is what you see quite often when you're reading news articles. So I want you to be able to reference that. So that's the average sale price. It is down a little bit. We're still in the right range, kind of that mid 500,000 tends to be the average around here. And then that brings us to months of inventory. So this is the true stat that tells us, and they often use when you read the news headlines of, are we in a buyer seller's market? Or are we in a balanced market? This is where they're getting that information because it basically tells us, in layman's terms, if houses kept selling at the same rate as what they have been selling over the last number of months, but no new houses came on the market, how long until we would sell out? That's months of inventory. In this situation, March 2026, we have 5.7 months of inventory. It would take almost 6 months to sell out of all the houses if it keeps selling at the same pace. Now, if you look at this graph as a whole over the last year, you'll notice we were way down around the 3s and we have consistently been above 5 months of inventory. That's important to note because often you'll see 3 months and below. That's very much a seller's market. 3 to 5 months of inventory is very much seen as the kind of the balanced market territory, and above 5 months is seen as, well, then the buyers have the advantage. That's what we're seeing right here. If we were looking at just this stat, months of inventory, then you would say it is a buyer's market. Personally, I will say it does lean towards buyers being in their favor, but a couple more details here that will show you the reality of what's happening here in the local market. Next one, and finally, days on market. Of these homes that are selling, how long is it taking for them to sell? You can see here, March 2026, we are at 51 days on the market. That's the average for a house to be listed to sold. One thing about this, I mentioned this in last month's video, we're seeing a lot of homes that are being put up. You look at realtor.ca and they don't sell. And after a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be, they decide to make a change to pricing or something else. They take it off the market, they relist it. Well, that resets the clock on days on market. And so if they relist it, they adjust the price by, $10,000 and they sell it in a week, it will show as having sold in 7 days. But the reality that's not showing this number is that it actually took the previous couple months plus the 7 days. So once again, stats can be skewed. The one that I'll say that isn't showing on these graphs that really surprised me when I was looking at it was the average sale to list price. This past month between Belleville and Quinte West, houses were selling at between 98 and 99% of list. So that means a house that's $500,000 was selling between $490,000, $495,000. A little bit of a discount, but not too far off. And so all these stats right here, nothing's really alarming. It's kind of a continuation of a trend that we're seeing right now where it does favor buyers a little bit more. This last stat I'm mentioning is the reality of what's happening here in Belleville and Quinte West, and that things aren't just being given away. Sellers aren't giving their homes away. You're hearing a lot from the GTA market that's basically saying, okay, there's fear everywhere. Housing's gonna crash. You're seeing the news headlines. So buyers are going out there and throwing extremely low ball offers out. Just saying, hey, let's go 100,000 under asking and see what happens. As you're seeing here, houses are selling up to 99% of the listed price. It's just not happening here. And that's because, in my opinion, Belleville, Quinte West is a much more steady market. It's the way it's always been. We don't have as much in terms of highs and lows here. And sellers aren't as desperate. So they're not giving the houses away. And the other thing that you're seeing though that's causing this is sellers are listing their prices more accurately. They're putting the price of the home as to what it's worth comparable to other homes that have sold in the neighborhood. They're not listing it too high. And so what happens there is you got a house that's listed at a price that makes sense, true to its value, and you have buyers recognizing that, okay, that's roughly what it's worth and this seller isn't giving it away. They're negotiating in a small range and housing is selling near that price. And so, in my opinion, things are still looking okay here. There's a lot of fear from outside, but this local market is still doing all right. You're hearing about all of the markets around the world, the stock markets. You're hearing about obviously the news with the wars and the oil prices and how that's all going to filter down. I'm sure that will have an effect, but I can't say exactly what's going to happen 7 months from now when the news cycle changes, it seems, daily. From positive to negative, it's back and forth. And so all I can say is the local market still moving along fairly steady. There are opportunities there on the buyer side, but sellers, they're still getting things done. Houses are still selling. Things are fairly steady around here. So in my opinion, that's a good thing. If you're in the market looking to buy, looking to sell, it's a little bit more predictable here than you are in some of the bigger markets. If you have any other questions, as I mentioned, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'd love for you to reach out. We can continue the conversation and hopefully I can answer some of your questions. And I just love chatting real estate. Till next time.